Coming to you from the sound lot behind mean old Mr. Myrtle's house, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two kids who aren't L7 wieners, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
Wow, that's an interesting reference. A little Sandlot action there. Corey, who sent that in?
That was brought to you by L7 wiener Jack Durden.
I wonder if there are any other kinds of wieners.
I'm an L8 wiener.
Of course.
Just got my certificate.
Yep.
You can place that.
I always enjoy when we catch Corey in a little ad-lib. A little improvisational moment of genius, a spark, lightning in a bottle.
Yes, sir.
Genie in a bottle. Maybe.
Yes, sir. I dream of genie in a bottle.
You had a wiener. You said something about a wiener.
I had a wiener last night.
Very good.
I was at the Dodger game. Luxury box at the Dodger game last night. Oh, by the way, and I learned something last night. I went with a friend of mine who is a very strong source in the world of Seinfeld.
Yes.
Won't tell you who he is. Won't say his name.
Right.
Just saying he's an extremely reputable source.
Well placed behind enemy lines.
He's well placed behind enemy lines. And he told me that there will be no Seinfeld on Blu-ray. This is a very well-placed source. I'm telling you that he is intimately involved with the show and no Seinfeld.
Then someone needs to start a petition.
Is that right?
Yeah. Then you got to get a website and be allowed to sign on and have to tell them that people want this.
I think they do want it.
Speaking of wieners,
I just gave you scoop, and you're going to tell me some stupid story about when you were at the Brentwood Country Mart and you ran into like some celebrity. Is that what you're going to do?
No.
I've got Seinfeld Blu-ray scoop, and you are cutting it short to tell me some story about nothing.
No, actually. I was going to make mention of the new Kim Ki-duk film.
A.K.A. Nothing?
No, Mobius. The new Kim Ki-duk film, Mobius. Which, by the way, he's a little bit nuts. He's one of those kind of crazy filmmakers. And Spring, Summer, Fall, Winter, and Spring is a great movie. That was Oscar nominated. But his other movies are kind of tweaked, and I usually like them, Nine Iron and whatnot. But Mobius, speaking of wieners, has not one, not two, but 3 castration scenes. Not even castration. It's like straight up, like, lop off the member scenes.
Is the movie about that? Why are we talking about this?
I don't know. We were talking about wieners.
Oh, okay. So we have a lot to talk about this week.
Yes, we do. Actually, this is an amazing week. And the music that we started the show with is, of course, the great Angelo Badalamenti theme to Twin Peaks. And we should get right into that because we teased this some weeks ago when we talked to Charlie. That would be Charles de Lauzerica, who, of course, was he's the dude, you know. He's the go-to guy for all the special editions. And we are talking about Twin Peaks, the entire mystery.
10 discs, Wade.
Oh, my gosh. So awesome. It is. Awesome. It's great. And, look, I love it. It's a nice, tight little package. It is roughly the size of, what would you say, like 3, maybe, it's like 3 regular-sized DVDs.
That is true.
It's a really nice box. It's super cool. The artwork on the cover is excellent. It's kind of got that shattered Laura Palmer face image, and then there's a cutout, and you see the Laura Palmer corpse face kind of peeking through. It's great.
But the best part is that each episode, you realize that each episode starts with a brand new introduction.
Yep.
By the Log Lady.
Yes, indeed.
Brand new introduction. They brought the actress back.
So awesome.
Log Lady.
Love it.
Awesome.
Log Lady. It's the best. All that stuff is
2
just great.
versions of the pilot.
Yep.
Which is good stuff.
The whole series, every last episode.
Outtakes.
And by the way, for a long time, you had to. There were issues with getting every episode on DVD, even in the U.S. Like you had to go and get the Japanese import to get every episode. There were some music clearance issues. I mean, it was kind of a mess. But anyway, the real goodie here is the missing pieces, which is 90 minutes worth of deleted and alternate scenes. And, of course, you also get, obviously, Fire Walk With Me, the movie, which was at the Cannes Film Festival in 94, 93, 94, one of those two. I was there. I remember it. People loved it. Nobody understood it. But, it did kind of sort of pay off a few things, even though they had a couple of little cast replacement deals. But anyway, I mean, it's just fantastic. It is on Blu-ray. All newly remastered picture, remastered sound, lossless. It's just fantastic.
It's great.
You know what? I mean, it's I used to be really kind of heartbroken that the show didn't continue, and I still am, because remember, that was my Saturday nights. It was China Beach and Twin Peaks, and I was done. And 2 years, it was like, that's like all the great shows, and it ended and left so much hanging and so much unresolved. But then I realized, you know what, if it had gone on, it would have been like a lost thing. They just would have dug themselves so many holes and created so many red herrings, and just the labyrinth of unresolvable crap that they would have painted themselves into, it wouldn't have been fun anymore. And now, at least, the brevity of it, those 2 years, it still makes it like, it's still a cliffhanger. It's like the unresolved cliffhanger. Well, I kind of like that now.
Well, look, we're talking, 1990, 91, 92?
Yeah.
You realize that if this show was on HBO now, a brand new show on HBO with True Detective and these other shows,
yeah, sure,
it'd be much better received.
Sure it would.
I mean, TV is much better primed.
Sure, and it would also,
audiences are much better primed to accept a show like this.
And it would be like 5 seasons in and fewer episodes, because you'd be doing just a few each year.
Yeah.
Be great.
Because nowadays, a lot of these showrunners, they call the shots. They call the shots on how many they're going to do.
It's great. I really appreciate that. I think that's awesome.
So what you're saying is that Twin Peaks is recommended, Wade.
I'm saying Twin Peaks, the entire mystery.
Buy it, done, make it happen?
Buy it, make it happen.
How come you haven't bought it yet?
It's awesome.
Okay.
It's awesome. It's just freaking awesome.
Do you like it?
I loved it. And Charlie, once again, just outdoes himself. It's just, I mean, we sort of matter of fact, oh, yeah, he does these things brilliantly. And it's beautiful work. So rock on, Charlie. We love it. It's fantastic. Twin Peaks, the entire mystery. That is one of our 2 big picks of the week. The other one we're going to get to momentarily. The other one is like another big wow moment.
What is it?
It's this.
Oh!
I know, right?
I thought you meant the Perry Mason movie collection.
No. But let's carry on. Let's finish off TV. As long as we're doing TV.
Sure. Would you like me to do this?
No, you know what? I'll knock this one out real quick. From Warner Archive, Warner Archive does a lot of TV as well, and of course, this is stuff that has very niche appeal. So it's MOD, manufacture on demand, DVD-Rs. If you are just craving, if you've gotten through 4 seasons of Chad Everett in Medical Center, and you are craving more Chad Everett, the complete 5th season is out there. There is
Nobody is craving this, Wade.
There is, of course, a David Lynch connection here as well. You realize that, right?
Oh, my God, because Chad Everett was in...
he was in Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive.
You remember that great scene with Naomi Watts and Chad Everett?
Of course.
The acting, that's a great moment. That is some of Lynch's best directing of actors I've ever seen. It really is. So anyway, look, this is completely of the 70s. It screams 1970s. But there's a cool vibe to the 70s era dramas, and some fun guest stars. Martin Sheen, very young Martin Sheen, shows up here too. So the 5th season of Medical Center, a lot of fun.
One of my favorite stand-up comedy venues in L.A. is the UCB Theater. There's one in New York also, but the one in L.A. has a comedy group called the Birthday Boys, and IFC gave them a show called the Birthday Boys. And so if you're a fan of the Birthday Boys, maybe you've seen them at UCB LA, you'll be totally grooving onto the show. I think it's funny. It's got Bob Odenkirk from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, the upcoming Better Call Saul. So, and Ben Stiller also is executive producer. So there's some like funny stuff in it, but there's also some like strange stuff in it. So it's definitely great for your indie comedy buddy to check out, because I don't think that this show has no traction. I mean, there's new episodes starting in October, but as for the first season, which is now on DVD, not Blu-ray, it's just got no traction. No one's ever talking about it, but there's some funny stuff in it. So if you're into that like underground comedy indie thing and you like Bob Odenkirk, The Birthday Boys, check it out.
Rock on. There was a lovely television version of The Trip to Bountiful done fairly recently for Lifetime, but it's better than Lifetime, right, whatever. What they did was they told The Trip to Bountiful, which of course is a great movie, by the way. The film from, 89, 90?
I'm going to say it's from 89.
Yeah, 89.
Let's see who's right.
What's somewhere?
85.
85. 85? That was 85?
Yeah.
Of course it was. I was living in France. I should have remembered that. Wow.
France.
Anyway, thank you. Trip to Bountiful, they redid it with a black cast, basically, with Cicely Tyson playing the lead, and it's lovely. It really is. I mean, does it compare to the previous version? Well, of course not. They don't have the same resources, but they put a really good cast together. Cicely Tyson, Vanessa Williams, Keke Palmer, Blair Underwood. And they did a much, much better job than you would normally expect for television production. And, of course, Horton Foote did the script, which helps a lot, and it's great. So it's a nice companion piece to the other one. So that I would also say, especially because Cicely Tyson's such a national treasure. She's so great.
She is.
Yeah.
The complete 5th season of Children's Hospital on Adult Swim. I think the show's funny. Again, this is another show like Birthday Boys that never really broke into the mainstream. Maybe because it's just completely odd. But it's a really funny show, and it's got Rob Corddry's in it, and Ken Marino's in it. Megan Mullally shows up. Michael Cera, Henry Winkler shows up. Lake Bell, Malin Ackerman. So it's got a good cast, and it's about the doctors in a children's hospital. Season 5 sees them relocating to another hospital. This one in Japan, and so that opens up a whole other bunch of avenues of comedy. And this show is just crazy. This show is just out there. This is totally Adult Swim. And it's not animated. The Adult Swim stuff tends to be animated.
Right.
This is not.
Like the next one I'm going to talk about.
I highly recommend Children's Hospital. It is really freaky and really funny.
So a few years ago, the Black Dynamite became an Adult Swim series. And I got
the movie was funny.
Come on. Well, the movie from 2009 was live action. The Adult Swim thing is animated. And it's awfully fun. It is awfully awesome. And we rip on the Adult Swim stuff every so often because it's like so out there that it doesn't. But this is great. It's just animated blaxploitation. It is fantastic. So much fun. So this is 10 episodes of Black Dynamite. What I love is I love the way that like on the back of it they do an old 70s style poster as it would be for promoting the movie. And starring, and this is exactly as one of those movies would be, starring Black Dynamite, Bullhorn, Cream Corn, and Honeybee.
Awesome.
Gotta love that. Anyway, this is a lot of fun. Definitely for adults. This is absolutely for adults. A second season is going to be coming up pretty soon. You get a ton of extras on here. Really, some of it gets pretty raw. They remove the standards and practices restrictions from a lot of this, and it's awfully fun. So if you are a blaxploitation fan like I am, this is one of the most enjoyable tributes ever. Pretty great.
Community is not only
Nixon's on the show. You know that.
Richard Nixon?
Yeah. It's pretty sweet.
Wow.
It's great.
He was president.
There are all kinds of there are cameos on there. They're just great. The constant cameos.
Community, the former NBC show, is not only a cult comedy, but it is also a potential trailblazer. We'll see how this goes because NBC finally axed it and was picked up by Yahoo, and Yahoo was going to do a 6th season of the show. So we'll see whether Yahoo is willing to put enough money into it.
What was the first series to switch networks?
Switch networks?
Mm-hmm.
The first series.
I'm gonna look that up because Bionic Woman did it in the 70s. Bionic Woman switched went from ABC to NBC. Yeah. I'm curious because I know there was something in the 60s that did that.
Well, you talk about that way. You
look
that
up.
I'll talk about Community. Anyway, the 5th season of Community is on NBC. The final season that aired on NBC. It's it's a real cult show. I've seen some episodes of it. I think it's pretty funny. Ken Jeong is hilarious. Joel McHale is funny in that Chevy Chase snarky way, which is ironic because Chevy Chase was on the show before he totally melted down. Fantastic. Anyway, Yahoo picked it up for the 6th season, so we'll see what happens. I know that Joel McHale was very unhappy with the amount of or lack of promotion that NBC gave the show, and I'm curious because he won't get much more. I mean, he'll get more promotion on Yahoo, but it'll be seen in a way by less. I mean, it'll be seen by more eyeballs. Yahoo promotion will be seen by more eyeballs, but I don't know that it'll have the penetration that a good old-fashioned network TV promo would have. So it's going to be hard to say. I mean, I'd be curious to see how it does. Curious to see whether Yahoo throws as much money into the episodes as NBC did. Curious to see if the promo gets the penetration that Joel McHale wants and the show obviously deserves. And it's a real trailblazing thing. And if it does well on Yahoo, it could start a total trend.
Alfred Hitchcock Presents switched from from CBS to NBC, the 50s into the 60s. But also Hazel. Did you know that Hazel ran
with what's her name?
Shirley Booth.
Shirley Booth.
Mr. Baxter. Oh, I love what you're wearing, Mr. Baxter.
You're showing your age. Although we were not alive during
no, Hazel switched. It ran 4 seasons on NBC, and then it ran its final season on CBS. How about that? Can you believe that?
That's great.
Hee Haw also switched from CBS to first-run syndication, a lot like Baywatch. That's really interesting. Yeah, I'd forgotten JAG went from NBC to CBS. There's actually a ton. I mean, but it didn't. My three sons also switched in 1965, same year that Hazel switched. It went from ABC to CBS. Did not know that. Isn't that fascinating? This is a treasure trove here. I'm looking at the Wikipedia entry on network change. I can't believe there actually is a Wikipedia entry on network change. Did you know there's probably a Wikipedia entry on Mark's freckle on his left ankle?
You know, I actually get this. So I Wikipedia'd myself once.
Yeah.
I guess bored or something.
Yeah.
I mentioned it on Wikipedia like 3 times or something.
Yeah, I am too.
Something stupid that means nothing. And one mention of me is completely inaccurate.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to change it. I don't really care, so I just keep it there.
Yeah, whatever. That's
so no one cares.
Who cares?
What do you got? Well, okay, we'll talk about some music. Got some movies. How about some Blu-ray news?
Well, actually, one last thing here. Perry Mason Movie Collection, Volume 3.
Do some Blu-ray news.
We'll do that. Let me get the TV finished here. There's another Perry Mason Movie Collection. This is the 3rd volume of them, and these, of course, you know, an older Raymond Burr as an older Perry Mason. This is trying to resurrect the character many years after the fact, in the 1990s, and many, frankly, decades after the fact. And you get 3 double features here. The Case of the Poisoned Pen and The Case of the Desperate Deception, Case of the Silenced Singer, The Case of the Defiant Daughter.
I'll read them all, Wade, because it's so
Case
exciting.
of the Ruthless Reporter and The Case of the Maligned Mobster.
Oh, I love the Mobster one. It's amazing, Wade. Thank you for reading all of those. Every single one of them.
Might be a fan out there who knows the titles and says, oh, that's the one I want to get.
That's a negative.
That's my job.
Anyway, let's see. What's new? Snowpiercer's on pre-order. You got to get that. Doesn't have a release date, but it will be Anchor Bay. Love that movie. You know I'm always proselytizing Snowpiercer.
Sure.
There's a 35th anniversary edition of Alien coming out in October, which no one's going to buy because we've seen enough. We already have the Aliens quadrupledy. And Maleficent is coming out November 4th. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Phantom of the Paradise, Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise coming out. That's exciting. Now, we talked about on the Facebook page the Batman Complete TV series.
Of course.
That's coming out,
yes.
13 discs.
Thank goodness.
On November 11th.
My gosh, I've been waiting for that my whole life.
You know what? It's
there's only one reason I want that. You know that. And by the way, I'm pushing for us to try to get somebody, get an interview for that.
Really?
Oh, man, if we could land Adam West, wouldn't that be the best? Wouldn't that be the best?
People know that I saw him at a Family Guy event, and I thought he was just, for an 80-year-old guy, he is badass.
And, you know, but there's the real reason that I'm really looking forward to that is to watch those episodes later on in the run that start off where you sit there and you're watching and you're like, come on, give it to me, and you get it. Batgirl rides her little motorcycle across the scene. You know, that one extra kick in the beginning, you're like, yes, Yvonne Craig's going to show up. She's going to be wearing a spandex outfit and doing high kicks with the red hair. That was just like the most amazing, like prepubescent, fetishistic fulfillment thing I've ever. It's just amazing.
It is totally true.
Yvonne Craig, love it.
What else we love, Wade? What should we do?
You know what? Let's do new movies. Let's blow through some new movies. We've got a bunch of new stuff, notably Divergent, which has turned into a bona fide deal, a whole thing.
I don't know.
You know what?
It feels like the Hunger Games is a retarded sister. Somehow it's not really. No one really cares much about Divergent.
Yeah, but you know what? It made money, man. It did. It made money. It delivered, and they're going to do the rest of the thing. And considering how well Shailene Woodley's star has been rising now in the wake of the Stars in Your Eye. What was
Fault in Our Stars.
Fault in Our Stars. Yeah, it's the worst title ever, but I get it. It's the title of the book. Fault in Our Stars. Now she gets to do the Jennifer Lawrence thing, which is she kind of imports her celebrity into subsequent movies. And now it's not just, Divergent with that girl from The Descendants. It's like, oh my gosh, Shailene Woodley from The Fault in Our Stars. I cried, and she's in Divergent. So now the celebrity cross-pollinates.
It is weird, though, because
that's what you want to do.
Because Lawrence and Woodley
are really good friends.
Are they?
They're good friends.
Yeah, but they have two different personas. Like Shailene Woodley, his thing, she was never really interviewed extensively until this film came out.
Right.
And now you're realizing that she's like this kind of crazy hippie girl.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, she's not. She's just she doesn't have a place to live. She has like one bag or one suitcase that she kind of lives out of. Tries to keep her possessions very low key. She's very kind of zen about her career and her life and everything. And she's sort of the opposite of Jennifer Lawrence, who's just...
She's got to watch it. Jennifer Lawrence has got to watch it, because it's starting to feel a little bit, oh, look, there's Jennifer Lawrence on a red carpet. Was she going to trip now? Was she going to trip again?
Well, but Jennifer Lawrence is, as the British would say, she's taking the piss out of her celebrity.
It's feeling but I think that's starting to feel manufactured now.
Well,
and by the way, she did the same thing for us. We thought she was so charming, how she... What did she say? I forgot what she said when she accepted for us, but... Yeah, look, we saw her. She's very beautiful, and she's obviously incredibly talented. I mean, she's the real thing. But it's like, some of that persona where she trips all the time and she's so bold and out there and ballsy. It's starting to feel a little bit manufactured. She just needs to maybe.
What I like about both of them is they're both great actresses, and they are kind of anti-celebrities. Both of them, in a very different way, but they're both very anti-celebrity. They're not doing the traditional movie star thing, which is playing to all of the hype and the expectations of what a movie star is supposed to be, and so forth and so on. And frankly, I think that's very smart, because we kind of live in a post-movie star age now. In the era of where the product, where the franchise is bigger than the star, where TMZ is constantly deconstructing our ideas of what a movie star is and what celebrity is, they have kind of reinvented our expectations of the movie star, and I think that's great.
It is great.
I think it's a good thing. So anyway, Divergent, it's very Hunger Games-ish. It's in this case, it's kind of a Logan's Run-y future. Where,
Logan's Run! Please remake that.
Where everyone is, it's sort of Brave New World-ish, Logan's Run-ish, where, she's the one who's different, and they are quote-unquote divergent, and, you got to go on the run, and... whatever, but it's great. It's yet another one of those Joseph Campbell messianic feminist sagas, and we need more of those, frankly, because I'm kind of getting tired of them all being about hobbits and Luke Skywalker. So it's about time we had some female Messiah characters in there.
Well, the problem is that the movie's not that great. I didn't think it was that great.
I think it's good. I think it's solid. I think there's room for improvement. Look, I thought the first Hunger Games was crap, and I thought the second one was pretty solid. So I think this, for a franchise launcher, is much more solid than the first Hunger Games.
Well, then they're going to have to get a better director than Neil Berger.
Agreed.
Who, directed whatever, Limitless or something.
Yeah,
crap
I agree.
Like that.
I agree.
Because I did not expect Francis Lawrence to do a better job with Hunger. Did you ever think that between Bill Condon and Francis Lawrence, which one would do the better job of the Hunger Games? No one would ever say Francis Lawrence.
Gary Ross.
Gary Ross. Gary Ross and Francis Lawrence.
Francis Lawrence is a very talented director. He is. He's a sharp guy. I don't know how. With a story, he kind of needs a good script to begin with, because he's not going to. But visually, he's a very strong guy. The problem with Gary Ross is I know a little bit about what Gary Ross went through, and he had really severe budgetary and time constraints, so he couldn't be Gary Ross with this film, and he's not really the right guy for it either. Gary Ross is he does...
He's Seabiscuit.
Yeah, he's Seabiscuit. He doesn't do teen, tween, action, adventure, whatever. So anyway. And Anna is an interesting little doohickey. Tessa Farmiga is, contrary to what people commonly think, is not Vera Farmiga's daughter. She's Vera Farmiga's younger sister. There's like 30 years between the two of them. It's a huge family. And she played Vera Farmiga's younger self in Vera Farmiga's directing debut, and looks an awful lot like her. But she's got legitimately her own acting career going right now. She was in a Sofia Coppola film, and the Bling Ring, and she's a really good actress. And she gets to kind of do a little bit of kind of anchor a film on her own here in Anna, which is a middling thriller along the Carrie lines, but she does a really good job. It's not a great film, but she's good in it, and then she's surrounded by some really good actors, Brian Cox and Mark Strong. So as far as being, it didn't get a theatrical release and probably didn't deserve one, but it's if you like the actors in it, I think it's worth taking a look at. It's probably a good rental. So it's called Anna. Mark.
Ironclad is Ironclad: The Battle for Blood is the sequel to Ironclad.
And we are obligated to say awesome things about this because one of our friends executive produced it.
That's true. But
it's really...
Actually, the first Ironclad I thought was terrific, especially because they made it for a cost.
Yes, they did.
They made it for a price, and it looked great. And we actually saw remember we went and saw a super special screening,
yes.
Just like the agents there.
Yes.
It was a little tiny screening room, and we were very complimentary, because we liked it.
Yeah.
Well, then comes the sequel.
And the story of the sequel, by the way, is actually kind of funny, because our friend who was involved in this, I remember when he found out that there was a sequel in the offing, he had no idea.
No.
Because Jonathan, basically, who directed the first one and directed this one, Jonathan very much spearheaded the sequel. So,
which is weird, because I think Jonathan should be doing other things. You should go off. Sometimes it's hard to make sometimes making your second film is harder than making your first film.
And that's why they went ahead and did this, because he had some capital from the first film. It sold very well overseas, so they decided to just kind of seize on it when the window of opportunity was there, and do a sequel.
Yep. So there you have it. Now I don't think this is actually based on anything particularly historical. I don't know.
It's loosely, very loosely. It based. Kind of. Most of it is fictitious. It's like, there was a survivor of the siege in the first film, and yakta we move on, and it's a whole new cast, and there's really nothing that ties it to the previous film other than the very loose linkage of events. It's a middling cast, but if you like the first film, I guess you'll have something to hang on to here. It's
also really bloody and gory. People who love bloody, like medieval blood and guts and gore, sure. Yeah.
And this one's on Blu-ray, so it is a nice Blu-ray from the people at Accelerator. By the way, speaking of that, I was on NPR with Tim on Friday talking about last week's movies, including Guardians of the Galaxy, which is loud and noisy and very busy.
I liked it.
But
it was too loud, noisy, and busy at the end.
Did you see Get On Up, the James Brown film?
I did.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy. I mean, I did. I've been listening to James Brown like all week in the car. Everywhere I go, I just I've been over and over. I've been watching Eddie Murphy's James. I've been obsessed with James Brown for a week. But the thing is, that movie's rated PG-13.
No, forget that.
James Brown did not live a PG-13 life.
No, he did not.
He did not even close.
Okay, here's the thing with that movie.
It's not a proper biopic. It's just fun.
I like the
great performance.
He's great. But Tate Taylor, who I think is Tate Taylor, who also did The Help.
Yeah.
I think he's a crappy director. I don't like his sensibility. I think he whitewashes, so to speak.
Yeah, he does.
I just don't. I think they should have got an African American director to do both those films. But here's the thing. I appreciate that he took a chance with the editing, with the jumping around at the time. I like that. I like that. But here's what you lose when you do that. You lose any sense of the relationships that he had.
Absolutely true.
In the climax of the movie, and I'm not giving it away. In the climax of the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
You realize when he's singing the song to his friend, who was really well played. Some guy from True Blood, I don't know what his name is. But at the climax of the movie, when he's singing the song to his friend, you realize that this is a movie about a guy who, for his whole life, thought he didn't need anybody. And then at the end, he realizes he does need people. He needs his friend, right?
Sure.
And that was like an epiphany for him. But yet, when you jump around editing-wise like that, you can't let that relationship really get a lot of traction. So at the end, when he comes to that realization that, yes, I've spent my life feeling like I don't need anybody, I'm going to do it all myself, and yet I need this man, my friend.
Bobby Bird.
Bobby Bird, and he was so well played by that guy. I don't know who he is.
No, he's the guy from True Blood.
Yeah, I don't know, but whatever. I thought he was great. Anyway, so you're like, yeah, I guess, but because they're jumping around so much in time, and they're trying to juggle the mom, and juggle the dad, and juggle the aunt, and juggle the career, and juggle Dan Aykroyd, and juggle the Bobby Bird, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. So you really lose a lot when you edit it like that. Although it was definitely a ballsy thing to do.
Yeah, Nelson Ellis is the guy from True Blood who plays Bobby Bird, who's amazing, and he's the guy you relate to in the film. He's great. Anyway, that
was my issue with the film.
All right. Well, anyway, back to DVDs. A thing called Lullaby, which is surprisingly okay. This is from Arc Entertainment. Written and directed by Andrew Levitas, and kind of thrown out there theatrically really quickly with a few names peppered in to sort of generate a little bit of interest in it. Richard Jenkins and Terrence Howard shows up for 14 seconds. Amy Adams worked for about a half a day. But really, this is a family story, and it stars Garrett Hedlund as this guy. He's a musician, and he is called back to the bedside of his dying father, played by Richard Jenkins, who's in everything these days. His mom is Ann Archer, and his sister is played by Jessica Brown Findlay, who played on Downton Abbey. And it's just this incredibly dysfunctional family that they're trying to put their act together as Dad, Richard Jenkins, is dying, and they find out that he is giving his fortune away, the fortune that they were all kind of counting on. And it's a very small film, it's a very contained film, but you know what, it ultimately kind of does work, even though the cameos feel forced, even though, you know, Jennifer Hudson and Amy Adams and Terrence Howard are clearly all just are like phoning in a favor by showing up in this. You know, the film's got a little bit of emotional resonance to it, and it could be better, probably should be better, but honestly, I think Levitas is doing something that's a little bit brave in the world of independent film, and he deserves to be applauded for it, even if it's not firing on all cylinders. So that's called Lullaby, and it's out there from ARC, and it's on DVD.
Need for Speed is some big, loud stupidity with Aaron Paul. This got a bit of attention because, there was no Fast and Furious movie, obviously, because of Paul Walker's death. Yeah. So Need for Speed sort of filled that niche in the marketplace at the time, and also was the first film to come out since Breaking Bad had its finale, and Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad stars in the film. Fortunately, this thing is a piece of junk. It's preposterous and loud and stupid and complete B-movie stupidity based on a video game. And it's a good DVD, though. Good Blu-ray, though. A lot of extras. Looks good, sounds really good, but I'm just saying it's just a bunch of just car pornography.
Nice.
Is what it is. And, did not like this at all. Just really stupid. I hope Aaron Paul, you know, look, he's got a lot of credibility from doing Breaking Bad. You don't want to destroy that credibility by doing crap like this.
No.
So I would pass on Need for Speed.
You know, Around the Block, I just talked about for theatrical release on Friday, and now I'm talking about it on DVD, which means they just put it into theaters for a few days just to get a little bit of traction and to claim that it had a theatrical release. And I'm glad they did, because I got to say a few nice things about it on Friday, and I'm going to say some nice things about it now. Christina Ricci stars in an Australian movie. Did you hear that? Christina Ricci stars in an Australian movie.
Yeah, but Australians star in American movies all the time.
Yeah, but this is unusual. Anyway, and she does not put on an Australian accent. She plays, you know, an expat who's in Australia for reasons that are explained in the film. Anyway, the writing-directing debut of Sarah Spillane, who once worked as a teacher at a school in a primarily Aboriginal neighborhood. And there's nothing remarkable about the story here. It's basically that inspirational teacher goes into, you know, a poor neighborhood of minority kids and brings the arts to them and tries to help them overcome their horrible, downward, inescapable spirals, circular life of crime and drugs and so forth and whatever. Except for the fact that everybody who in this is really good, and Sarah Spillane brings a lot of personal experience to it, and the acting is just absolutely superb. The idea here basically is that there's this one kid in her class whose brother is, you know, his dad's in prison, and an uncle was killed and was a promising actor, and he wants to be an actor, but he's also caught in this whole revenge spiral between kind of rival Aboriginal groups. And anyway, it works. It doesn't work because it's original, because it's not even remotely original, but it works because the acting is just really terrific, and it rings true, and it'll tug your heartstrings, even though you know everything that's coming. So anyway, that's Christina Ricci and Around the Block, worth checking out from Cinedigm, and includes a few extras, commentary with the filmmakers, a music video, deleted scenes, featurette. Nothing extraordinary.
Cuban Fury is a movie that escaped all of our attentions. Mainly because it's not that great. It's got a good cast. Nick Frost, who we all know from the Simon Pegg films,
sure,
like Shaun of the Dead, as well as Rashida Jones, who's kind of delicious. I have to say, I like Rashida Jones.
I do too.
Put that out there. And Chris O'Dowd. This is a movie in the vein of like the Full Monty, and like those
sure,
like these lovable people get together to put on a show, and they're losers, and whatever.
Sure.
So this one has Nick Frost as a guy who loves salsa dancing. He gets injured 20 years later. He wants to take up salsa dancing again to impress his very beautiful boss. So the problem is that not that Nick Frost isn't funny and can dance and strikes a blow for the schlub in all of us, and I like that kind of stuff, but it's so by the numbers and isn't really funny enough that I feel like it's a bit of a half-assed effort, a bit of a missed opportunity. So, and the guy who directed it, he does mainly TV, so it doesn't look like him, doesn't have the energy and the snap of a big, like, you know, Mad Hot Ballroom type movie. So I would pass on Cuban Fury, a nice try. And if you like Nick Frost and Chris O'Dowd, Rashida Jones, you might want to give it a whirl. But I think you'll find it's okay.
I like them. I'll give them a shot. You know, The Other Woman had a moment of success on its opening weekend, and then everyone realized that it's kind of lame. The Other Woman stars Cameron Diaz, Leslie Mann, Kate Upton. Basically, this is a First Wives Club for a new generation that didn't see the First Wives Club. The idea here is that Nikolai Coster-Waldau is a real cheater. He's married to Leslie Mann, but he's having an affair with Cameron Diaz, and then they later learn out he's also having an affair with Kate Upton. He is just a cheater. He is hopeless, and of course they find out about each other, and they all team up to really stick it to him. So it is a feminist revenge movie that has just enough titillation to make men feel like it's okay. The whole thing is really, really weak. Jennifer Hudson shows up in, not Jennifer Hudson, Nicki Minaj shows up in this and does a really kind of a throwaway bit. Jennifer Hudson, of course, in the last film I talked about. Nicki Minaj just should have been in a better movie. I like Nicki Minaj a lot, but she's wasted in this.
Nicki Minaj?
Yeah.
You like Nicki Minaj?
I do like Nicki Minaj.
Her music?
Totally.
Really?
Of course.
You do. Now you're making that up.
I'm not. I like Nicki Minaj. I think she's awesome.
Can you name one Nicki Minaj? I don't even know what she does except get tattoos and...
I'll look at a picture of Nicki Minaj. It's like she doesn't even need to sing. Seriously.
No, she does need to sing.
She doesn't need to rap. She doesn't need to rap. She doesn't need to sing. She was a film school student, by the way. Do you know that? Like at NYU or Columbia or something.
Well, she should have done film because...
she should. I like her a lot. She's funny. She's
really?
Good. She's talented. Yeah.
All the people in the world you would like.
Damn right.
It's bizarre.
Anyway, no, here's the thing about The Other Woman. Leslie Mann is terrific in this. She's like Barbara Streisand, Lucille Ball terrific. She is hilarious and funny, and her timing is wonderful, and she's just like grade A comedienne. Everything around her is just stupid. Cameron Diaz is utterly wasted. Kate Upton is just there for window dressing, and it's just it's really kind of a pointless film. But it's almost worth seeing just because Leslie Mann is so relentlessly funny. She's relentlessly hilarious, and there are at least 4 scenes where I was almost in tears. She was so funny. Doesn't save the movie, but you know, whatever.
Ping Pong Summer is a cute little film. I wish it wasn't so formulaic, but it was kind of cute. It's written and directed by this guy Michael Tully, and it must be about his childhood. I can only imagine. But it takes place in the mid-'80s. It's about this shy kid, 13 years old, and he wants to win the popular girl by winning a local ping pong championship. That's what it's about. So it's like Karate Kid with ping pong. But it's got a good cast. Susan Sarandon, Leah Thompson, Amy Sedaris, they're all in it. The kid is very good. Ultimately, I think if anything sells this movie, it's the fact that it is pretty sincere. Like I do feel like this was lifted off of somebody's actual childhood, either the writer or the director, or either Michael Tully or the producer. Somebody experienced it just this way because you get a sense of that organicness to it. It just feels very authentic. But it is pretty slight, and it is pretty, it is pretty much of a minor work. But it might be cute. Go for it. Ping Pong Summer. Low budget. Doesn't look that great on Blu-ray, but there is an audio commentary by Michael Tully, and that's pretty. It's not really much about the making of the film more than it is about his experiences, directing this movie, and it's cute. Yeah, why not? Ping Pong Summer.
So there is no work of literature, of pulp literature, that is so promising and yet which has been so mutilated over the years like Tarzan. Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan books were amazing. They were staples of my growing up. I loved every last one of them. I read the entire series, which is something like 30 some odd books. It's endless and it's awesome. And I gotta be honest with you, man, I don't know why people keep bungling this. It's like they just don't get it. Greystoke, which of course was written by Robert Towne under the pseudonym P.H. Vazek, which was what, the name of his dog?
It was Dog.
His name was Dog. Anyway, and of course directed by Hugh Hudson, starring Christopher Lambert in his first big role, was amazing. That was it. That defines the everything about it. Everybody keeps tweaking with stuff. This is a German production, CGI animated. I don't know why they thought they could do this when Disney already kind of owns the animated Tarzan. They sort of do. Disney kind of co-opted that, despite the fact that Filmation did a better animated Tarzan for television. But This is just not good. The CGI is not good. The voice casting isn't good. The story is terrible. It's all kind of present day, so the Greystoke family doesn't crash it's not a 19th century expedition that crashes, shipwrecks in Africa. They're helicopter crashes. It's the stupidest thing ever. So anyway, this is a Blu-ray, DVD, digital HD combo set. I cannot recommend it. And then lastly, on the new movie front, before we dive into music a bit here, is Half of a Yellow Sun. A film I wanted to like a lot more. This did the festival rounds last year. Should have done better, considering that it had Chiwetel Ejiofor in it, and it was released right on the heels of 12 Years a Slave winning Best Picture. And you would have thought, oh my gosh, they're gonna blow this thing out, and they're gonna piggyback on his name, and not really. They didn't really do anything with it. It's a really nicely made film. It's beautiful looking. It's got great acting. But for some reason, it just kind of doesn't really ever catch fire. And the whole thing takes place basically centering around the Nigerian Civil War. It's a kind of a Nigerian history lesson, a little bit like a Nigerian variation on Dr. Zhivago, if we could kind of put it in those terms. But the particulars of that, the historical particulars of that, are very interesting. And I learned a lot that I thought I knew before, and I didn't. So Chiwetel Ejiofor, Tandy Newton, Annika Noni Rose all do wonderful, wonderful work here. But something about it just doesn't really catch fire. So it's nicely done, but you can admire it from a distance, and that's on regular DVD from Monterey. Mark, time for music, and then we're going to blow people's minds.
Really?
Yes, we are. You're going to blow their minds. You're going to blow their minds.
You mean the star of Jack Reacher? The guy who played the villain in Jack Reacher is also a director?
That's exactly right.
Wow.
He's a cruel man. He's a very cruel man. He's cruel to his crews, and he's cruel to his audiences. And we like it. We like it very much.
All right, should we talk about this right here that I'm holding in my hand?
Yeah, talk about that. We couldn't get Zach on the phone in time for this to do a little spiel, could we?
We could not.
That's too bad.
We could not. But we can still talk about Woodstock, the seminal, indispensable, classic, iconic documentary about the music festival from 1969. And the thing is that, if obviously, a lot of people listening to this were not around in 1969, but it was, although maybe they were around during like Live Aid and Farm Aid and some of those festivals that really helped define those eras in a sense. Yeah. But none of them were like Woodstock.
Nothing.
I mean, we're talking about the late 60s.
The US Festival was an attempt to try to do a Woodstocky thing in the 80s, but that didn't work.
Lame.
Yeah.
But Woodstock really symbolized the musical and social and just political changes in ideology at the time in the late 60s. There was nothing like it. And this film, which is already like 3 hours, whatever it was, has even more footage. So you've got more of The Who, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Joan Baez, Jefferson Airplane. It's just an amazing, amazing film. And a friend of ours, his father, was actually integral in the making of the film. So I was going to try to get him on the phone to tell the story, but Fred, who was a New York guy, he was the one who started the Bitter End, which is the iconic Greenwich Village Club, still on Bleecker Street to this day. So Fred, club owner, very happy as a club owner, he gets a call from California to become an executive at Warner Brothers, even though Fred had absolutely no movie experience whatsoever. He was a club owner. He started one of the iconic clubs in the village, but still, he was a club owner, no movie experience. He knew a guy, said, why don't you come to Los Angeles and work at Warner Brothers? And this, of course, is in the mid-'60s. So Fred says, sure, why not? California, warm weather, and beautiful girls in California. So he comes to California, and he's having a conversation. Of course, this story would be better told, if not more accurately told, by either Fred or his son, who's a good friend of Wade's and mine.
Yeah.
So
good old Zach.
So Fred says to the Warner Brothers executives, he goes, look, there's this thing going on. It's a music festival. It's in New York. It's going to take place at a farm called Woodstock. Now, again, this is before the internet. It's before cell phones, before computers, before anything. So whatever was going on in the right side of the coast was not getting back to the left side of the coast, or vice versa, because this is pre-everything. But Fred, who was this guy who knew all about New York culture, because he was already ensconced in the Bitter End, and Bob Dylan and Woody Allen, all those guys. He comes to Los Angeles and says, look, I'm telling you, in New York, there's this thing going down, and I know about it. It's called Woodstock. And Warner Brothers was very reluctant because, Fred was new, and what's Woodstock, and who are these kids, and, the executives all like these old guys. But eventually Fred said, just give me a little bit of money, give me a little bit of film. I got a guy who can direct it. Let's just go and shoot it. So Warner Brothers gave him the money. Not much money, but they gave him the money.
Sweet.
And they gave him the money, and he got a director, Michael Wadley, and it wound up being Woodstock. And it was a game changer, as a term that was nowhere to be found in 1969. But, yeah, it's great. Jimi Hendrix. Come on, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
The Who, Joe Cocker.
Totally.
Oh, it's fantastic. Woodstock, 3 days, a piece of music. It is fantastic. This is the director's cut. The thing won an Oscar. There's plenty of never-before-released performances, 3 hours of additional music and stories about the festival and from the festival. 40th anniversary, cannot recommend it enough. Woodstock on Blu-ray. It looks great, although I will say this is this is 1969, and B, it was a very, very, very low-budget, on-the-fly, on-the-run production, so don't expect shiny, glossy Blu-ray.
So I got two very, very different films here. The first one is Made in America. This is a Ron Howard documentary, and Ron Howard is not typically associated with documentaries, but this is basically Ron Howard giving you a complete inside and backstage look at the festival that was the brainchild of Jay-Z. And it is a really interesting insight into the music industry. Look, it's not the end all be all of any of these things, but it's pretty great, and the interviews are fascinating, and you realize very quickly that music still has this transformative power, even if the whole industry around it is changing exponentially day by day. Who's on screen here? Obviously Jay-Z, as well as, among others, Kanye, Run DMC, Pearl Jam. It's pretty great. And then that's on Blu-ray. Ron Howard, good documentarian. Who knew? And then there's this film from documentarian Marco Capalbo called Stravinsky in Hollywood. And if you're not a fan of Stravinsky's music, then don't bother. If you are a fan of Stravinsky, who is an iconoclast and an eccentric and a legendary composer, but also completely unhinged, his entire relationship with Hollywood is really fascinating, and it's turbulent, and it's just an amazing story, and it's far more amazing than I even thought I knew. I mean, I knew a lot of these stories, but I didn't know nearly what the crazy directions that this narrative takes. This is a fascinating film. And it's kind of a cautionary tale about what happens when somebody with a very, very strong will and a strong artistic sensibility decides that they want to come to Hollywood and do things their way. And Hollywood, of course, is accustomed to people kind of kowtowing, kissing the ring, doing it. Well, now that you've kind of made it through your artistic adolescence, we will enable you to become an adult. And that's not what you tell somebody like Stravinsky. So this is a great film. Stravinsky in Hollywood by Marco Capalbo on Blu-ray, fantastic Blu-ray from Arte.
We got 3 rock and roll Blu-rays to talk about. Then I guess we can go to the big one, at least for us.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
ZZ Top. I was never a fan of ZZ Top, so I have nothing to say about ZZ Top Live at Montreux. Again, part of the Live at Montreux, the never-ending Live at Montreux Blu-ray collection. They play all their stupid songs I don't like, Under Pressure,
I forgot
and Legs.
I forgot to tell you,
yeah.
She's got legs and she knows how to use them.
I never liked. I never liked things. I just forget them. Ugh. Wade's doing that little wavy hand thing that they used to do in the videos. Yeah, forget it. Anyway, so in 3D, very poor-looking 3D, I have to say. We do have Appetite for Democracy, Guns N' Roses live at the Hard Rock Casino,
Booyah.
Las Vegas.
Yeah.
This was. Okay, here's the thing. It's Guns N' Roses' first concert film since 1992, so you can see it in 3D, you can see it in high definition 2D. The thing is that by this point, Guns N' Roses, was really just Axl Rose. Chinese Democracy finally came out after all those years. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, what is the secret project? I bet it's going to blow our minds, and Axl's sitting on it, and he's tweaking it for years and years. He finally releases it, and it's like, who cares? Not that great. So This is not the Guns N' Roses that we would necessarily want to see. I've seen Guns N' Roses live. They're amazing, incredible energy, and it's just total just rock and roll danger. Love it. So Axl's got a great voice. He's got a great rock and roll voice. So his voice hasn't lost a whole lot. It's still this crazy banshee shriek. So it sounds great on Mr. Brownstone and Estranged and Welcome to the Jungle and Sweet Child of Mine, all the November Rain, all the Guns N' Roses songs we love. The problem is that, I wish it was,
sure,
the original lineup.
Yeah, I know.
Not.
I hear you.
So it is hard to fully recommend Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Democracy, but if you're a Guns N' Roses completed, go for it. Completist, go for it. Now, The Who, probably my all-time favorite band, they have
you love your Who.
I do. I wish I had seen them back when they meant something. But I kind of waited. Actually, what? The funny thing is, I saw them in the '90s, and the '90s they seem washed up. Now it's like
they're cool again.
No, they're not cool again.
Okay,
it's over. This was recorded. This is called The Who Quadrophenia live in London. Quadrophenia is, of course, their masterpiece concept album, which also is a terrific Blu-ray. The movie itself. But this is the concert. This was performed live at Wembley Arena, where I've been. I saw Elton John perform at Wembley Arena in 2013. So this is pretty much the album. I Am the Sea and The Real Me and Quadrophenia and I'm One and all the 515, all the great Quadrophenia songs. Obviously, with one band member no longer with us, and Roger Daltrey, he doesn't really have that super rock and roll growl he used to have. Now he's in his 60s, I think. It's not really the same experience, but you do get new interpretations, older man interpretations of Pinball Wizard, Baba O'Reilly, Won't Get Fooled Again, which of course are not, a couple of them are, but Baba O'Reilly is not from Quadrophenia. But still, you get them, and that's great. But I just think that at this point, I just think The Who should just stop being The Who. Pete Townsend did a lot of great solo stuff. I've got a lot of Pete Townsend solo albums. I just think The Who, he's just got to stop.
All right, Mark. We have 16 films and documentaries, 13 discs. Unfortunately, none of them is Burden of Dreams. That's the only downside to this. Burden of Dreams, you still got to get separately. The Les Blank documentary about the making of Fitzcarraldo. But everything else that you have ever wanted to know about Werner Herzog is here in Herzog the Collection, which is an amazing... I'm going to do the rest of this segment speaking with a German accent.
Oh, God, please don't.
Okay, I won't do it. But it's very hard to stop once you've started. Because Werner Herzog has a very particular way of talking, and he makes you feel like he's going to torture you and really not care about it. Werner Herzog is one of our all-time favorites. This is from Shout Factory, Blu-ray collection. Comes in a lovely little kind of a book. That's the only thing I don't particularly like, because when they do these book things, that means that every page is like a disc, and you have to realize, oh, there's a disc on the other side, and I'm going to have, every time I take it out, it's going to scrape against the paper.
I know. It's the same thing with the Stanley Kubrick collection.
I know.
I hate it.
I don't like the packaging. Just don't really like the packaging. I get it. It's like showy, and you look at it and you go, oh, wow, that's really eye-popping. But I'm probably going to take these discs out and put them in their own separate boxes. Bottom line.
Nerd.
Anyway, total nerd. But anyway, it's great. Like, it's got the picture of Herzog on the cover where he looks a little bit crazy. It's kind of shadowy.
He's the best.
He looks like he's going to slit your throat. Oh, look at that picture on the inside leaf. It's maddening. It's a little bit tweaked and perverse, like his movies. So you obviously get the little booklet part of this. This is like the Blu-ray book version of having a ton of Blu-rays in here, and there's all kinds of essays on the films and the background on them and the shorts and the documentaries and the yada 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 yada. Everything that Werner Herzog has ever done is detailed and explained and honored and so forth and so on. And then you get into the movies. And there are audio commentaries on every single one of these. Most of them are moderated by Norman Hill, who does a lovely job. 2 of them are moderated by Norman Hill, and he has Herzog in conversation with Crispin Glover. which these are all pre-existing commentaries. They've been on the previous releases as well. So if you've heard either of the commentaries with Crispin Glover on Even Dwarfs Started Small and Land of Silence and Darkness, you know that those commentaries are as entertaining as anything that you will ever listen to or ever see live or filmed or recorded. They're awesome because Crispin Glover is a nut and Werner Herzog is a little bit of a kind of a crazy German nut. And you put the two of them together and you ask Norman Hill to somehow referee it, it's unhinged. It's brilliant. It's wonderful. And it's informative yet at the same time. Here's what you got on here. Even Dwarfs Started Small, Land of Silence and Darkness, Fata Morgana, Aguirre, The Wrath of God, which is just... Have you watched that lately, Mark?
Not lately.
It's freaking... I mean, first of all, on Blu-ray, every print I've ever seen of that is hashed. It's like dirty and scrapey and faded. Seeing this on Blu-ray, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's one of the greatest jobs of photography I've ever seen. I don't even know how you got the camera in that location. It's amazing. The Enigma of Kaspar Hauser, which is extraordinary. Heart of Glass, wonderful. Stroszek and Wojciech, both of them unpronounceable, also great. Nosferatu, which we all love. Fitzcarraldo, legendary. Ballad of the Little Soldier, Where the Green Ants Dream. Cobra Verde. Lessons of Darkness, Little Dieter Needs to Fly, which of course that's the documentary that they remade as a narrative film with
that's true, with Christian Bale, which is not on this.
Yeah, it's not. That is correct. That is not on this. And then finally, My Best Fiend, which is a documentary about Klaus Kinski and that amazing relationship. Anyway, tons of audio commentaries. Tons.
You know what's not on this?
What?
Okay, this would be the greatest ever, even though he didn't direct it. If they had included Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe.
That would have been great.
Not on this.
No, it's not. And neither is, of course, Burden of Dreams. But
by the way, we should hesitate. To get people interested in Werner Herzog, because maybe they don't know who he is totally, we should tell them about Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe. Because that gives you a sense of how crazy he is.
Go ahead.
I'm doing this? Okay.
Okay.
So this took place in, this bet was in I guess like the late 70s or something like that. And so Werner Herzog was friends with Errol Morris. Errol Morris, of course, is the documentary director of Fog of War and Thin Blue Line, etc. So Werner Herzog made Errol Morris a bet. Errol Morris had done was doing a documentary called Gates of Heaven about pet cemeteries. And Werner Herzog had made, Werner Herzog had said that if Errol Morris ever completes the long gestating, taking forever to complete Gates of Heaven, Werner would literally eat his shoe. So Errol Morris finishes Gates of Heaven, right? He finishes the movie. It's a masterpiece. Everyone loves it.
Yeah.
Turns out that Werner actually he honored his side of the bargain, and Les Blanc in 1980 actually shot video and made a short documentary. It's like things like only 20 minutes or something of Werner Herzog eating a shoe.
Yep.
And it's called Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe.
And I believe that is on the Burden of Dreams disc.
It was a bird eating a shoe.
Yeah, but I think they're together on that disc. In any case,
but that's how crazy Werner Herzog is. He actually ate a shoe, and they made a documentary out of it.
Not all of Herzog's movies are here. This is simply the collection of the films that are sort of iconic and that everyone remembers. And this is, and the ones they could get the rights to. But this is these are the iconic Herzog films that he will be remembered for. So amazing collection, absolutely first rate in every conceivable way. Before we have to wrap out the show, a lot of older titles that I should kind of fly through fairly quickly. We've got a new company-ish, Scorpion Releasing, which is essentially releasing stuff through Kino. And they're digging up a few interesting old kind of exploitation-y things. Movies that you may have forgotten about. They've kind of fallen between the cracks. This one's from the late 60s. It's called Grizzly with Andrew Prine and Richard Jekyll.
Not to be confused with Grizzly Man, the documentary directed by Herzog.
No, that's which is also not in the Herzog set. Anyway, Grizzly, it's kind of in the wake of Jaws. They had to make movies about all kinds of stuff, like Orca was another one of those. In the wake of Jaws, there were just lots of movies that had to be all about people running away from rampaging rabid animals, and this one's ridiculous, but it's historically a little bit interesting. It comes with a ton of extras, including a New Beverly screening from the time of its release. Then there's also Green Ice with Ryan O'Neal, Ann Archer, and Omar Sharif. Man, I didn't even know this movie existed. This is from 1982. It was directed by Ernest Day.
Ernest Borgnine?
No, Ernest Day.
Ernest Borgnine?
Ernest Day, the cinematographer.
Wow.
Former cinematographer. Great cinematographer. But it's like, what? Robert De Laurentiis was a producer on this, and this is just very, very peculiar, and I don't know where this movie came from. But anyway, it's a thriller that takes place with archaeologists in the Andes. It's completely preposterous and makes absolutely no sense, and Omar Sharif is just doing this so that he has a little bit of money to play cards with, and it's a very strange movie. It just kind of came from nowhere. I don't know where they dug this up, but it'll be interesting to see what Scorpion comes up with in the future. Curtains, another popular horror film from the early 80s, is out as well on Blu-ray in a special edition, and this is from an era when all the horror films were a little bit campy, not very effective, but they all had kind of a weird little kind of tweak to them, and little kind of a strange thematic sidebars, and this is one of them. And I guess if you want to see all the cheesy slasher films that you possibly can from an era that was just bloated with them, and it does have some decent makeup effects by Greg Canham, who a friend of mine used to work for a number of years. By all means, give it a look, but I can't say that anybody should really buy this. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis in At War with the Army. I'm kind of amazed that this wound up with Film Chest. This is, the Dean and Jerry movies have done a pretty good job of traveling together and staying in kind of one rights holder's hands, but this one somehow fell out of that, and Film Chest was able to dig it up, and this is not bad. This is actually the first film that they did together. And it's got Polly Bergen in it, and it's them doing shtick in the Army. What do you want? It's funny, and they're a great team, and you realize why they made a lot more movies together. It's very funny. So Film Chest did a nice little job of curating with that one. Another one from Film Chest is Detour, which is kind of an underrated noir. A lot of people love this film.
Oh, Detour's cool.
But very few people have seen this. It's not easily findable. It's kind of it floats around in compilation collections and.
No, you know what? It's actually on Netflix streaming.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Detour is. Well, bravo.
Wait, you know what? Is it Netflix streaming? Hey, I watch on Netflix. This is a long time ago.
Okay.
And it's really good.
No, Netflix.
Anne Savage is hilarious.
She's
like
terrific.
This blowsy broad who won't take stuff from.
She's the perfect noir chick.
Yes.
Yeah, she like nails it. She's got the lips and the eyebrows and the hair and the whole deal and the hips and the thing. Anyway, Anne Savage, Claudia Drake, Tom Neal, not names that would be household names for anybody, but it is really a pretty intense classic noir. A little bit. I don't want to say campy, but it's a little trashy, right? Wouldn't you say?
Oh, definitely trashy.
Yeah.
Well, but look, it's about this like piano player who falls in with this Anne Savage, as we said, who's this hitchhiker.
But he's like a torch song pianist. He's a
torch song pianist, and he gets into trouble, and he winds up picking up a hitchhiker at a gas station, this woman Vera, and it turns out she's like the classic, film noir femme fatale, and it's great. It's great. She's got him wrapped around her little finger, and
there's a great murder angle.
He tries to get out from beneath her influence, and tragedy happens.
It's fantastic.
It's good, yeah.
Good stuff. So that's a good little underrated noir. And then on DVD, not on Blu-ray, I'm sad to say, is the Grace Kelly collection, which includes Mogambo, The Bridges of Toko-Ri, Dial M for Murder, The Country Girl, To Catch a Thief, and High Society. This also includes Princess Grace of Monaco, A Moment in Time, which is a documentary that they did with Princess Grace right at the end of her life. You know what? All this stuff should be on Blu-ray, and the set should be on Blu-ray, but it's not. So I'd say if you have any of these movies already on DVD, there's no reason to upgrade to this necessarily. But it's strictly for Grace Kelly fans and devotees. But I'm personally going to recommend that people wait until all these movies are out on Blu-ray in a much bigger, more elaborate Blu-ray collection. And with that, Mark, we are done till next week.
We are?
We are. We're done. See you next week. Oh no.